So welcome to Anatomy and Physiology, everyone. A couple of important things. The first one is to check out the syllabus. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and sorry, I can't move this. There we go. Syllabus, syllabus, syllabus. Read the syllabus, you must. That is essentially a kind of a, think of it as a contract between the instructor and the students as to kind of what the expectations are for the course. And oftentimes a lot of student questions can be answered by looking at the syllabus. So the syllabus covers everything that is expected of you. So make sure to print, read, and highlight important information such as policies and due dates. There you go. In terms of content, there are 4 main units. The first unit covers intro, chemistry, cells, tissue, and integumentary or skin. And that will be the topics that your first exam will be covering as well. The second unit is on skeletal, joints, muscle, and nervous. It seems like a little, but actually the second and third exam tend to be the ones that are most difficult for students because they're just so detailed. So make sure you set aside a lot of time for Unit 2 and Unit 3. Unit 3 is on the cardiovascular system. That includes blood, heart, and blood vessels. And then you also have respiratory and digestive. So this one, overall, it's 3 topics in this one unit. So it feels like it's very little, but again, it's a lot of detail. And then the fourth unit covers the urinary system, the endocrine and reproductive, both male and female. And that would be half of what your final exam will be. So your final exam is half on the fourth unit and half on the comprehensive of units 1, 2, and 3. Okay, questions? Okay. Some resources that you can use for this course, lots. There's a lot of resources, but a couple of main ones would be the Canvas with navigational materials. If you had a chance to look on Canvas already, you'll find that under the lecture component, lab component, there's the navigational materials, and those are not required, but they are very useful and helpful if you make sure you go into it and use whatever is on there. I will also post supplemental course videos. Oftentimes when students struggle on a particular topic in a chapter, I'll make a video on it and I'll post that video. And then I also make worksheets for this course that is not required, not graded, but I highly recommend that you do them. I will email them to you as well as post them kind of in a file that you can I'll give you the links to them so you can access them anytime, but I do post them on a weekly basis if you're more of just give me what I need for that week. External resources, there's Khan's Academy, there's lots of different anatomy and physiology websites that are quite really good in terms of providing kind of more of the audio visual presentation of anatomy and physiology. Okay. All right, so in terms of the work that you need to do for this course, we have divided into 3 main buckets. You have the assignments, which include critical skill assignments and video assignments. So this is one of the changes that we've made to this course since the last term. So rather than doing all video assignments, I suggested putting in critical study assignments. And essentially, these are assignments that you should be doing as you're studying anyways. It's just making sure that you do them and I'm able to take a look at them and you'll get credit for them. So there's 7 critical skills, excuse me, 7 critical studies assignments. Essentially, one is like how to take notes for this class, how to read and annotate for this class. So skills that, because this is an introduction course, I felt that we need to provide them in cooperation with the actual content. So you'll have these, and also one of the critical skills assignments is on making cognitive maps. So again, these are all the things that you should be doing kind of along the way to, as part of your studying anyways, but now you'll get credit for them. You'll also be required to do 4 video assignments. This introduction video that you're doing this week is not one of them, okay? So there's no grading rubric or anything for the introduction. It's just a way for you to get to know each other and form a community, even though this course is completely online. The 4 video assignments, though, is really cool because it's on topics that tend to be difficult for students, and it's nice to hear that topic from a different perspective, and that's why we have them do it. Have you do it for 2 reasons. One, in order to talk about a topic, you have to be very well versed in it. So you have to be comfortable in it, and that means that you have to work on it until you're ready to be able to present it in a video. Second reason is for your peers. The videos that we make is one way of saying things, where if you hear it from a peer, you may understand it better. So it's kind of a win-win for both you and your peers. So more to come, more information about the 4 video assignments that are graded. Of those 11 assignments, 1 will be dropped. So the lowest one is dropped, and combined, they make up 10% of your grade. So a nice kind of good chunk to kind of give you that buffer. If you're at like a C-, if you did all of your critical skills, it would bump you up to a C+, essentially, 10%. Okay. Now for these assignments, in terms of are you able to submit them late? You can submit them late. This is another change that we've made. So I will accept late assignments, but 1 point per day will be deducted. Okay, so I figured that's a little bit better than just not getting anything for late assignments. So some changes. Okay, questions on these assignments? For the discussion video specifically, the 4 that you'll be doing for this this course, there are specific grading rubrics. It's worth 10 points. It says late assignments will not be graded. That's not true anymore. So let me change that. Excuse me. Okay, so let me remove that whole chunk, because I will accept late assignments now, but keep in mind that they will receive a 1 point deduction per day. Okay. All right, so for your video assignments, make sure you begin your videos with your name, the date, and the topic that you're presenting on. The content is worth 4 points. Did you include all the components of that discussion? And it has to have your voice narrating it, because that's how I can see whether you understand the content or not, and that's worth 2 points. You also have to include a visual created by you. In other words, there could be no images from outside resources. For example, don't take an image from the textbook or online. It has to be drawn by you or made in terms of a model or assembled by you. It has to have a visual though. And you being on the screen is not a visual, okay? So, and for example, a few years ago, students used their notes as the visual. Text does not count as visuals either. You could you can create a cognitive map, for example, or you can draw actually what's going on. So those are what would be considered as visuals, and that is worth 2 points. Now, the remaining 2 points of that 10 is watching and providing feedback. Excuse me. You can watch as many as you want, but you have to provide constructive feedback on 2 of your peers. And it's going to be on constructive criticism on the content alone, okay? Excuse me. You can add more feedback, but I'm looking specifically for feedback on the content. So let's say you watch one, it was a perfect video, you didn't find anything wrong with it, then you'll have to watch another one, okay? So provide feedback on the content. So for example, if one of your peers said that the mitochondria, excuse me, let's say, for example, one of your peers said that the mitochondria functions in storing lipids, for example. You can say, well, I think I remember studying that the mitochondria actually is the powerhouse, so it produces ATP. So you're both kind of discussing back and forth. You don't have to be correct in what you are providing, but just kind of listen to your peers' videos. And if there's any content that you were like, I don't remember that, kind of have that discussion back and forth. And that is where your 2 points would come from, okay? So you have to provide feedback on 2 videos. Questions on discussion video grading rubric.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Mhm.
I've read through the syllabus, but I'm still not clear which software. Is it Flipgrid? Or I'm still not clear where the links are to make the videos.
Oh, you can, I left that up to you. So you
Okay.
can either use, so on Canvas, there's a recording option that you can do. You
Okay.
can do, use your phone to record yourself and then post it to YouTube. So that's up to you. Some students are really tech savvy and they use specific software. Anything's fine. All I'm looking for is begin your videos with a certain way, provide content, audio description, visual, and then provide the feedback. Okay. Now, the easiest way to get feedback, because it's just when students see this on Canvas, is to provide a link to YouTube. If you attach a video, students to be able to watch it, they have to download that video and then watch it. So it's hard to get feedback versus if you provide a YouTube link, they can just click on it and your video will show. Okay. And that's why I recommend doing videos and then posting them onto YouTube. It's just an easy click and your peers can watch them right away. Okay, great question, Matt. Quizzes. So quizzes are open all week long. They need to be complete by Sunday, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, this is true for both your lecture and your lab quizzes. Oftentimes you have a lecture and a lab quiz each week, except for the week that you're taking an exam. There shouldn't be any password requirements, but if you are required to do a password for either the quizzes or your exams, it's always going to be anatomy. Okay, it shouldn't require a password, but if it does, then it is anatomy. Okay. Now the lecture quizzes will be on the current week's lecture modules. It's always going to be 10 multiple choice questions. The lab will be on the current week's lab modules. There'll be 10 write-in identification questions and spelling does count. You will lose half a point for incorrect spelling. So as you're studying for the lab, make sure that you are not only able to identify it, but you are also able to spell the terms, okay? Here's a major change that we've made, and I'm so happy about this. Students now have 2 attempts. So you can take the quiz twice, and whichever one is the highest, that is the one I will take, okay? So I'm so glad I was able to get that through. After that Sunday, though, there is no makeup or retakes, okay? Because it's open all week long, and you have 2 attempts now. So you shouldn't need any makeup or retakes, okay? There's a practice quiz that you have to take by Wednesday, this Wednesday. It helps you kind of see what the quizzes are like on Canvas. And also it is always open so that you can check to make sure that your computer, if you change computers, your system is able to handle the respondents lockdown and the webcam, okay? Webcam quizzes are optional. I recommend you to turn them on though, so that you get used to it. I never watch them, okay? Not on the quizzes, okay? Because they are optional. It's just for you to get used to them, to become comfortable with them, and to make sure that your computer is able to handle both the respondents lockdown browser and the webcam, okay? The quizzes are meant to be a learning tool, okay? Especially now that you have 2 attempts. take them, see how you do on them, whatever you got wrong, kind of figure out why you got them wrong before you actually have to go take them on the exam, okay? So once the quizzes are closed, I grade them, and once I release the grades, the correct answers will be available for 48 hours, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you can never go back into your quiz after that 48 hours. You can always view your quizzes. It's just that the correct answers would not be available after 48 hours after I release them, okay? Questions on quizzes?
I have a question on the Respondus software. Is that something when we open the quiz, it's going to go ahead and feed the code through, or is that something we have to acquire?
Yep. So you have to download Respondus Lockdown Browser, and so when you open the practice quiz, it should give you the option of downloading the Respondus Lockdown
Okay.
Browser.
All right.
So,
Thanks.
so when you open that, that will take you into the quiz. Yep. Yeah. Other questions?
That as well, yes, but that as well, the webcam, does it open automatically with the Lockdown browser, or is that a separate application?
It should be, it doesn't automatically open it if it's optional. If it's optional, it will ask you whether you want to record yourself or not. If it's required, then it will go through the process of the webcam. So it will have you do an environmental scan. So you would go kind of like this, you know, show your, you know, what's your surrounding, particularly what's on your table, you know, to make sure there's nothing around there. But yeah, use the practice quiz to figure out kind of the logistics of it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Others? So, where did your exam go? I usually talk about exams too. Discussion video. Okay, so I had a sheet for exams, but it is gone. So you have, I'll talk about them on here. So what are you graded on? So you have the assignments that I talked about already. You have the quizzes, both lecture and lab quizzes that I talked about already as well. Now for your lecture and lab quiz, I will drop the lowest one. So you have 11 lecture quizzes at 10 points each. I will drop the lowest one, so it will only count 10, and that will give you 10%, so 1% per quiz. For the lab quizzes, you have 11 lab quizzes. I'll drop one, so that comes to half a percent per lab quiz. Okay. Now exams. So lecture exams, you have 3 lecture exams, 50 questions each. They make up 10% of your grade each, and that's true of exam 4, which is kind of combined into your final exam. Okay. Then your lab exam, you have 3 as well. So lab exam 1, 2, 3, these are 30 questions each, and each make up 5% of your grade, as well as the lab exam 4, which is kind of pooled together with the final exam. Okay. And you can, all of this is very detailed, explained in you know, quite detail on your syllabus, on the syllabus, so make sure you take a look at that again. But the exams, exam 1, 2, 3, and 4 have 50 questions each, and 40 are multiple choice. The last 10 questions are fill in the blank. They're usually short answers that you'll have to kind of type the answer in. For lab is, all of the lab questions are the same. It's always going to be identification, and you'll just type in what the identification structure is, and again, spelling counts. Okay, questions? Okay, exams will always be opened from Saturday to Monday. I'm sorry, you have midnight Sunday. Yeah, so at like 11:59 Saturday, the minute after that it'll open. So midnight Sunday until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time Monday for exams 1, 2, and 3. Then the final exam is a little different, so be careful about that. The final exam is actually open from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it closes at 11 p.m. Sunday Central Standard Time. We try to make it consistent, but for the final exam, the last day of class, I don't know why, but always ends on a Sunday, so we have to finish it on Sunday rather than having you go to Monday like you did for exam 1, 2, and 3. Okay, questions?
And when we go into these exams or assignments, everything like there's instructions that specify like for the assignments per se. Is there anything? It's a little bit more confusing with online courses. Is there anything that's open book? And if there is it going to specify that in the instructions so we know?
Absolutely, it's actually in your syllabus as well. So the quizzes and exams are all closed book. No, it's only you. You're the only resource that you can have.
Yeah, I remember reading that part. I remember that was specified in this. So
Yeah.
I knew quiz and exam, but I don't know, when you mentioned like assignments, I wasn't sure if that's the same or.
No, assignments are, you can use whatever resources you can to do them. Yep. Except for the video discussions, the visual has to be done by you. Yep. Great question, by the way. Yep. Yeah. Other questions? And if a question does pop up, you think about later on, just send me an email. Okay. So that's pretty much the layout of the course. Okay. So when you go onto Canvas, you will find that there's home, syllabus, announcements, modules, discussions, assignments, grades, and people. Okay. So one of the things that is very useful is if you set your notifications right here. So if you set your notifications to send you any changes that I made, it can either email it to you or it can send you a text message. Okay. So I'll show you an example of that. I can't because I only shared my PowerPoint. If you want to set it up and you don't know how to set up notifications, send me an email and I'll walk you through it. But you can set it up so that Canvas will notify you any changes that are made or any grades that I release or such. And you can choose to either be emailed that only or emailed and text or just text. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can change within the notification settings. Okay, questions? Okay, then on the home page, which used to be that you cannot see if you're using the app on your mobile device, but now I believe you can. But the home page will have the welcoming note as well as the getting started and the to-do. Okay. So the course layout, syllabus, make sure that, that I would even print that out and just kind of highlight all the main things instead of having a digital form of it. Okay. And once you print it out, you can also put all the due dates and assignment and like when your exams are into a calendar, and that will help you manage time. There's a lot of things going on in this course because the course is not only just the content, but it has the lab component as well. So to kind of juggle everything can be a little bit difficult. So having a calendar or a reminder, that is very, very helpful. Okay. On Canvas, you also have the announcements. You will find the Thinking Storm announcement there, and that's the online tutoring that's offered for this course. Any general announcements, I will also post on announcements, but often more than not, I email them because you'll notice that when I send things through the course announcements or through Canvas inbox, the links disappear. For example, I sent the link to the Zoom and it just didn't go through for many of you, so I ended up having to email it. Okay. For exams, you have a week before the exam to study it, so there will be no new content given to you that exam week. And that I will always give you kind of a study guide and kind of a little guide as to how to prepare for the exam. Okay. Any questions? Okay. This is just kind of going through what it looks like on Canvas, just let you figure that out. So you can see that there's the lecture component, lab component, navigation, resources. So oftentimes students ask me kind of what kind of schedule should they set up for this course. This course is a science with lab course, so it's a little bit intense. When they ask me how many hours you should set aside, I usually say 12. Okay, and the reason for that is because imagine if you were taking this in person. When I teach this in person, I would meet with my students twice a week for 2 hours. So that 4 hours is just getting the content. Okay, so that 4 hours is not even studying, it's just, you know, soaking in that content. Then the other 8 hours, that's where your actual studying comes from. Okay, because you have to set aside time to actually study, to receive the content, and then you have to set aside time to study the content. Okay, and that's why it's, you know, recommend that you set aside at least 12 hours a week for this course. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, I would recommend that you print, download the video PDFs and scripts for the week, and then watch the lecture and the lab videos and take notes on those materials. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, that's where your actual studying comes from, where now that you've gotten the content, you're going to rewrite your notes, process them, and edit them as you're rewriting your notes. Okay, so there's a difference between like Monday and Tuesday. Imagine Monday and Tuesday is like you sitting in a course. Then Wednesday and Thursday is actually you studying the course, going through what you've heard to see how you understand it, how you scaffold the information together with it. Okay, and then Wednesday and Thursday, you want to also complete the assignments and submit or post by Friday, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then on Friday, review your notes that you've made, make flashcards or use Quizlets to do kind of a practice quiz. Listen to the video one more time, possibly, and see if it makes more sense the second time. Complete the worksheets, do the cognitive maps. And then Saturday and Sunday, you should have had time to listen to the content, study the content, and review the content by assessing yourself using those flashcards. That's when you would take the quizzes. Okay, and the quizzes you don't have to take them back and back, and you don't have to take them on the same day. So let's say, for example, you choose to take the lab quiz first, then you take that first, then you take the lecture quiz on a different day. Again, they're open all week long, but they are due Sunday, 11 p.m. I would not wait until Sunday 11, like 05 or 10:05 to take them, because remember, now you have 2 attempts. I would take them a little bit earlier to kind of see where you are in terms of your studying. Did you understand what you're studying? And then use the second attempt to really figure out whether you've processed the information or not. Does that make sense?
Question. Yes, and you can use the second attempt to raise your grade. So if you got like a B or B minus and you think you can do better, you can go ahead and do it. Take it again.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. You should be able to see what grades you get on the quizzes. You just won't be able to see the correct answers. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions? And it will never hurt you to take it a second time, because I will automatically take the highest score. So if you scored higher in the first one than the second one, you're still okay. Okay. All right, so that's all I have for walking you through this course. Hopefully it makes you a little bit less anxious, because I know science courses can cause a lot of high anxiety. Go into it with a positive attitude. Be open to new suggestions, studying habits, and everything, because that's the key to doing well in this class. It's just starting out really strong, starting with really good study habits really strong, because oftentimes students would take this course and then they'll wait for the first exam, and if they don't do well, that's when they actually change and like, oh, I do have to study for this course. Okay, questions? Any questions?
I have a few questions. So I'm working full time, and then I'm also taking this psychology course. So is that, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's still time. Maybe I should change my plan. I mean, I've read through the syllabus and listen to, I know it's pretty intensive to have a couple courses. Is that common or uncommon to take more than, it's 8 hours, plus they enrolled me in the medical terms course, which is 1 hour. So it's 9 hours. Is that going to be something I can balance, or what's your experience with students that are, I assume most people are probably working there in this course. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, oftentimes more than that, the majority, I would say about 80% of my students are working full-time and taking a full load. It's really hard to balance everything. It is doable, but it's really hard to balance. And what they tend to do is that they tend to take complementary courses. Like the medical terminology is complementary to this course, so they go really well together. I would not recommend 2 intensive courses together. Psychology is pretty intensive, but it depends on what you need, your trajectory and such. You know, usually when I'm advising students, I would tell them to take 1 science course and 1 like an English course, or something a little bit less intensive, because this course is with lecture and lab, and that's what makes it so intense. It's like having 2 courses in 1. I mean, it's doable. I've had students who have the exact schedule that you have, and they're able to do it with a full-time job. But it is challenging. I will not lie and tell you it's not challenging.
Thanks.
Other questions? Okay. If anything comes up, please, please, please contact me. Don't be like, oh, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to contact you. Like, if something, life situation happens, let me know. If there's anything I can do to help you, I certainly will, but I can only help you if I know. Okay? So if you have any questions whatsoever, contact me. You have my cell phone number as well. So send me a text, send me an email. Just keep a really strong open communication throughout this whole course. Okay? And we'll get through it together. Okay? Any questions? I see something in the chat. Okay, great. All right, that's all I have for you today. I will process this recording and post it online. All right, I'll see you all online.